Welcome back to MMA Fancast, particularly if you're already a YouTube subscriber to the show. Welcome back to you. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the one coming at you right now. We don't get to do this super often. This is Luke Squared. Welcome back to the show. The former Division II National Wrestling Champion, Luke the Martian Martin. Champ, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, man.
It's always great when I can have you as a Luke on the show, Luke Siebert on the show as well. Anytime I can do a Luke show, it's a great show. Of course, you guys train together, are buddies from your WVU wrestling, and now you train together at Stout. So it's kind of like a perfect trifecta of Luke's. You were coming off a huge second round TKO win over a very well experienced, he was going into his fifth amateur MMA fight. You were going into your second at Line Cagefighting just yesterday. So thanks for coming on under 24 hours from when you fought. How does it feel? We'll get into the round by round, but how does it feel now to be 24 hours removed from being 2-0 to the start of your MMA career?
Feels good, man. I'm excited for the future. I'm glad that we did that fight with that opponent, and glad that the things went the way that they did, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be happy with that. Sheldon Starr, I've seen him fight for Line Cagefighting before. Definitely a guy as an amateur with a lot of talent. 2-2 coming into the fight. So had 2 wins, 2 losses, but really it's about going up against guys with more experience. And somebody like Sheldon Starcher clearly is committed to his craft, committed to MMA, and that's the type of guys you wanna fight. Particularly as you continue to advance, getting opponents that are going to like make the walk, make the weight, make the walk, and actually do the fight. For people that don't know, in the amateur rule set, in the amateur ranks, it's basically a gentleman's agreement. There are contracts. You will sign a contract, and some commissioners will punish a fighter if they sign a contract and then flake on it or don't have and just kind of like void the contract. But at the end of the day, amateurs, it really comes down to, in this case, Sheldon or anybody you're going to fight, agreeing to take on the fight, and same for you. When you get to the pro ranks, it's a lot different because there's money involved, and obviously it's a little bit more mandatory to make a fight happen. But let's get to what the fight was like for you. First off, compare the warm-up, preparation, and walkout, the pre-fight stuff from your first fight to your second. I know because you've wrestled at the highest level of Division II, and also you were wrestling at Division I before that. You're used to the big stage. Was there any more comfortability this time warming up, walking out, the pre-fight stuff?
The production was cooler, I'll say that for sure. But the locker room was better in my first fight. We had our own locker room, and I was kind of in there by myself with Mike and Will. And my first fight, it was me, Mike, Will, Lucas, Mason, and Josh Ramirez. But this time it was just me, Will, and Anthony and Josh Ramirez. This time Mike got sick this week, so Ramirez, good friend of mine, stepped in for him and came down to Kentucky to corner me. But everybody in the blue corner was sharing a locker room, so we were all in there like warming up together, and it was a real tight space. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, we're not in the UFC, so like it is what it is. But it wasn't a huge deal. I still got warm. I was able to adapt to it. It is what it is. You know.
And each event venue is going to be that way too. I know for 247 Fighting Championship, they always try to do a great job with the red and blue warm-up areas. Sometimes the actual event venue kind of dictates that, so that can be kind of tricky. Obviously, I hope Mike Wilkins, a guy you obviously train under, the 2-time Coach of the Year, along with Coach Will Morrell. Hopefully he's doing better. Hats off to Ramirez for jumping in and to take a trip down to Kentucky on just a couple days' notice. But that is what the community of MMA really is. Your friendships, your connections, the wrestling mindset as well is kind of that. You're used to traveling and going on the road. It's just like in MMA. Anthony Hound Dog Hogebeck has been on this show a bunch. And so hats off obviously to him for also making that trip. So thanks for giving us a review, champ, of what it was like. like the setup, the behind the scenes. Walk us through round one.
So, there was a couple fights that scratched. Whether I don't know what happened with them. They scratched on fight night, so some people weren't showing up or something like that. I honestly don't know, but I went from being like the seventh fight to like the fourth fight, I think, and um, I was calm. I was in the back, just waiting to walk out, and then still didn't really feel anything. And then my walkout song starts playing, and I walk out, and I felt just like super relaxed. I don't know, I felt way more relaxed this time. And then, I mean, I was relaxed last time, but this time it was different. And I walked in the cage, and I was just waiting on him to walk in. And he walked in the cage, and his corner was chirping me a little bit before the fight. So I made a little mental note of that. And then fight starts. I knew he was gonna blitz me. Um, I don't know why I thought that, but I was right. And he blitzed me, and he literally sprinted at me. I think that he was like thinking like the Masvidal knee, maybe. Like he thought I was gonna shoot like as soon
Yeah,
as the bell rang
right
or
off the
something like
bat.
that.
Right, right.
But I didn't, and he didn't throw the knee, but he just kind of like chased me down, threw a bunch of leg kicks. Um, didn't really fire off that many punches. I was just kind of throwing some jabs out there, and then I dodged an overhand, and I caught him in like an over under position, like a 50-50 position, and stepped around him, outside trip, threw him over my head, landed on him, and then was just kind of working the position a little bit, ended in side control. And I was in my corner actually, so I could hear Will and Josh really well. So I was listening to Josh and Will, and they were saying, like secure the position, do damage, um, secure the position, do damage, posture up, posture up. So uh I secured the position, postured up, did damage, round ended. Um yeah, round ended. Then I went to the corner.
Well, it's always good. I think maybe from your wrestling background, that you can hear your corner. Sounds like you took your opponent right, right to where your corner was, so that can help. But it's always I think it's a higher level athlete in any sport, particularly fighting, but in any sport that can be doing the activity, even if it's tennis, right? And the coach yells something in, it goes into the head, and the athlete's able to act on it right then. Obviously that's what you're talking about in MMA. That's a different skill set. Some athletes, and it's nothing against them, some athletes, it's very much they need the advice before and after, and they're just going to kind of flow. You see that maybe a little bit more in football, where it's kind of a little bit more like, hey, we're going to go over, play, you run it, but when you're out there, you kind of do your thing, you come back. So it all just kind of depends on the athlete. I think for fighting specifically, you're gonna advance much further more quickly when you're able to also kind of make adjustments from what they're saying. And obviously that helps you. And it also kind of the corner side, having been a corner for a fair number of MMA fights, you you tend to give direct advice when you know your fighter's taking it, right? Like at some point, if you're giving corner advice and your fighter's maybe just unable to hear or not able to enact it, it's kind of like, well, we'll talk to him in the corner when he comes over during the break. But like for you, you're able to take what they're saying in live time. I think that goes a long way. What's it like? I know in college wrestling, the breaks between period, there really isn't a break. Like you literally just walk, change position, whatever. You might get a drink of water, but really nothing. It's not like a time where you can get coached specifically. So what's it like in the corner? I know last time you made it to a decision, so you had corner. Do you feel like you're a fighter that can really benefit from the advice and from that time in the corner between rounds?
Yeah, I think I did a great job of maximizing my time in between rounds. So I was, like you said, like with wrestling, you don't really get like a break at all, like in between periods. Maybe in freestyle, you do a little bit because you go back to the corner and they shake your arms out, they give you a little water, but you only have 30 seconds. So, in MMA, I'm in the corner and it felt long. Like I recovered completely. I don't even think I was breathing hard going into the second round. I made a complete recovery. I listened to what Will was saying. I listened to what Josh was saying. And I felt fine going into the second round. I wasn't even really breathing hard. And then second round started, and same thing started happening. He was throwing leg kicks. He chased me down. He was throwing leg kicks. I floated a couple jabs out there, and then I landed a body kick, and and then he threw another leg kick, and then I just blast doubled him, and luck again in my corner. I'm on top of him, and I was literally like making eye contact with my corner. Like I was like on top of him, looking up at Josh and Will, and like we were making eye contact, and they were telling me secure the leg, secure his wrist, do damage, posture up, do damage. You know, I was listening really well, and I was even like looking at them, and then uh, I was in half guard, and I just landed a left from top, and then I felt him like he really felt that, and I did it again, and then I postured up, and then just started just letting it fly, and he slipped up. I slipped up to mount, and then was really just kind of raining down on him, and the ref almost stopped the fight at one point. Like he was about to jump in, and I thought that he had already jumped in for a second, and then I looked up and realized he actually didn't jump. He like stopped himself like halfway through. If you watch the video, he starts to jump in and then stops himself for some reason, and then I like just kept raining punches down, and then he finally actually jumped in. So then the fight was actually over.
So you almost got it stopped twice. It sounds like, and that is, I will say, if there's one area where TKO stoppages in MMA can be a little, very much up to the referee's discretion. It's the ground and pound, and we've seen some of those ground and pound situations go on way too long. Like there's been some examples in the UFC where it really needed to be stopped, even sometimes where corners have thrown in the towel. But also there might be some times with ground and pound where, and we've seen it at the highest level in the UFC. I remember when Dominic Cruz was knocked out by Cody Garbrandt, or stopped, I should say, by Cody Garbrandt. He had a point that he was kind of working his way back up. He should have been given a little bit, he had like no time to like recover. So obviously that's why each referee is looking for what they're looking for, and they're all kind of specific to what they're doing. But obviously an incredible stop. Before we get to the finish, just for my thoughts on the finish, when you said about feeling fully recovered after a 3-minute fight, and I think that obviously shows that you're doing the work. You're putting in the work. You're a highly conditioned athlete. You're 24 years old. Your peak cardio is probably going to come in your early 30s as far as your peak cardio load. We see that with like ultra marathoners and things like that, which is great. You just keep building on it. But how confident? I know you're several fights away from going pro. You still got amateur career ahead of you. But how confident are you when you felt recovered, fully recovered, like you were starting the fight over after the first round, that when you go pro, like your buddy Lucas Siebert just did, and it's 5-minute rounds, how confident are you that you're going to be able to come off that stool? Or sometimes Mike Wilkins has people stand, but let's say you're on the stool, you come off the stool. How confident are you that once you're a pro, you're going to feel recovered as well, even with the 5-minute rounds?
I'm confident. I used to wrestle like at practice, like grind matches for like 30, 40 minutes sometimes. So I mean, it's kind of a mental thing, really. I don't think I don't know if I'll ever get tired in a fight. Um I just have a tank, and I just keep going, and I'll catch a second wind. As soon as I see that they're gonna start getting tired soon, I'll get that second wind, and I'll just pick it up, and I'll pick up the pace. And that was something that I was really good at in wrestling. I was always good at pushing the pace. I never got tired. Um, I never got tired in practice. I mean, obviously you get tired in practice, but I was good at catching a second wind, and I was really good at noticing when somebody's getting tired and applying more pressure. And like it's kind of the same way that you see like Marab do it now in the UFC, where he picks up a second win. Like when he fought Henry a couple weeks ago, Henry started to get tired. He started to fade. Marab picked it up, and then Henry really faded. And I think that's something that I have, in my bag that I can use. As soon as I see somebody start to fade, I'm just gonna start pouring it on.
Yeah, that's a great, not only physical attribute to have, but that's also a great mental attribute to have. For you now, this has got to be exactly where you want to be. 2-0 in your amateur career, just a year and a half, I think maybe just now 2 years removed from winning your national title. Um, where do you want your amateur career to go next? Is it a matter of trying to get a guy with more experience, maybe who's on a bit of a win streak, maybe a 3-0 guy or a 4-0 guy? Or is it a matter of just finding the next opportunity? What are you looking for in your next fight, which would potentially advance you to 3-0? And for amateurs, and of course, Lucas Siebert, your buddy, kind of already did this where 2-0 is great. 3-0, 4-0, like when you're really starting to put, that's obviously when you're starting to really advance your career. So where do you want your amateur career to go next?
Um, it's hard to say. I want tough fights. I want competition. I want guys that think that they can beat me, and I want to prove them wrong. And I want to do them just like I did Sheldon. Um, Take him down, get on top of him, pound him out, finish the fight. Like I said, I'm not the wrestler that is gonna hold position and sit on top and make a boring fight. I think I'm an exciting fighter. I think I'm going to take people down and I think I'm going to beat their head in until the fight's over. And I'm going to bring that to every fight. And everybody that's going to fight me in the future should know that that's what I'm coming with. I'm going to take you down and I'm going to beat your head in until you either give me your neck or the ref stops the fight. And that's just how I'm coming. And that's anybody that wants that. Get at me. Get at me. I want a tough fight. I want a competitor. I want somebody that thinks that they can beat me. I want somebody that thinks that they can put my lights out. Because I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take them down, finish the fight.
Well, that's one of the greatest sort of general call outs. You're saying anybody out there that wants it. I also think that could be used as almost like a motivational clip. You say, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to punch your head in, make you either submit or get TKO'd. I think one complaint some MMA fans have had against dominant wrestlers, which I don't fully agree with, but you mentioned it, is the lay and pray. The wrestlers that they get a position, and that's great. They get a takedown, that's great. And we've seen it. And they do, respectfully speaking, of course, they do nothing with it. They might even get stood back up a couple times. And now I still think, hey, it's MMA. If you don't want to get taken down and laid on, work defense, right? I mean, there's always, because the reality is the MMA rules are the same for everybody. So you've got to be able to play all aspects of MMA. So that's the defense, the guys that are lay and pray, because at the end of the day, if it's working, it's working. But I do think one thing that you really show, and Lucas Siebert, everybody out stout, is use your wrestling to get a dominant position and then turn in to a dominant striker, right? Like we saw that Lucas has a TKO in his first pro debut. Of course, it came from knocking his opponent down with a knee, which is very much striking heavy. But even if it had come from a grappling takedown, a wrestling takedown, and then ground and pound, the reality is striking on the ground is actually easier and more effective than striking in space. We think of strikers who strike in space, like Donald Cowboy Cerrone and some of the other good strikers in space, and that is true. The Muay Thai guys, Israel Adesanya, they are great strikers, but they have to deal with their opponent moving in space. When your opponent is pinned to the ground, you become an even better striker. So people that are out there, like, your striking percentage will go way up when your opponent's flat on the ground. It's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I think it comes from that was just kind of the kind of wrestler that I was too. I scored points, I dominated matches, I have a lot of tech falls in my career. I tech fought a lot of people. I don't know if I still have the record in West Virginia, but I did for a single season. Tech falls in high school. Most takedowns in a season. Just that kind of thing. Like as soon as I would see that like you kind of started to break, like then I would kind of start, scoring, score, finish. Tech fall. That's the kind of dude I was. I was a tech faller. And I bring that with me to my fights. I felt him break under me and I finished him. So
Yeah, it's a
that's
great
how it's going to be going forward. Every fight I'm coming to finish.
it's a great style and mindset to have for people that know wrestling. How impressive. I've been to college wrestling tournaments, and like somebody getting tech falling and somebody that's good at tech falling, it is exhilarating. It's the fan favorite. Now you can win by one or two. and still be spectacular. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I remember I watched, because it's on YouTube, people should watch your title championship. You were up quite a bit, I think, in that. And obviously that's national title. But I think that mindset of tech fall really plays well in MMA, because with tech fall, you've got to constantly be doing technique one after another. I mean, you're out skilling them over and over and again, and not just getting to a position and getting ride time. So the style of tech fall, I think, is very much more MMA friendly, because in MMA, you get to a dominant position, like you said, and it's not one or two skills, it's all of the skills. You just keep putting the skills out there until the fight's over. So very, very exciting. I predict that you'll be on, hopefully, this show many times in your career. I can't wait to have you back on. You're off to the best start you can be, 2-0. You know, you gave a really great call out to anybody out there that's willing to fight you. I think it's really just going to be a matter of you continuing to line them up. Can't wait to have you back on whenever your next fight gets scheduled. You would listen to Luke Payson, the MMA Fancast, with the former Division II national champion wrestler and the Martian, Luke Martin. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Congrats on getting your big TKO second round, the first stoppage win of your MMA career, first of many for New Line Cage Fighting 22. Thanks so much for coming on. Just a day removed for a big win. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. And shout out to Anthony for his win too. We spent a lot of time together these last few weeks, cutting weight and stuff, and get ready for the fight, and going down to Kentucky together. So, you know, I'm glad that he got that one too. So shout out to him.
Hats off to the Hound Dog. Now I'll reach out to him, get him on the show. He's been on the show a bunch before. Can't wait to have him on to talk about it. That actually makes sense. I was gonna ask you, why wasn't he in your corner? Because you said he made the trip with you. Now I realize, because he was fighting too. That is cool when teammates can travel with each other. It's a different atmosphere. So hats off to the Hound Dog. We'll get you on the show here to talk about it. Thanks again for coming on. Best wishes to you.
Yep. Thanks for having me again.
You got it, brother.